Well, hello and welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Arizona Association for Economic Development's Lunch and Learn series. This is on the Arizona Prospector. We're very happy and excited to have GIS Planning here today with Jeff Sinison, who's going to take us through Arizona Prospector. This is a free resource and it's offered through APS. Mackenzie Fitzgerald is on our AAED board of directors, and she also helps to run this program for APS. So if we have any information or need further information, Jeff can help you, and certainly our contact in Arizona, Mackenzie at APS, can help you as well. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Jeff, who can run us through Arizona Prospector.
Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, and we also will be joined by our director of marketing shortly in here, and she'll have also be able to discuss a little more about how this can, help market your community and your properties in a little more detail. My name is Jeff Sinison. I've been with GIS Planning for 17 years now. We've been working with Arizona APS for a long time. The goal here is to kind of show you the solution that we put together for them and for you all. Again, as Carrie said, this is something that's being shared with all you in the communities, all the different regions, and this is something that you can all access, pull the data from, use to market your locations, etc. So my goal here is to show you a little bit about how this works, what you can do with the site, as well as describe a little bit where some of this data is actually coming from, so you have an idea of, all this information, that we have in here. What are the sources of that and how often is it updated? So what you should see up here on the site is Arizona Prospector, and this is what we call our microsite for them. This is where we've kind of put in all the different tools to the site. The one I'm going to be focusing on mostly is Zoom Prospector Enterprise, which is the property search. I will just briefly mention, what you can do here with the microsite is you could come in and select a community of your choice. And the idea from the microsite is you can jump right into data. So if you're not necessarily looking at properties, but just wanted to pull information on your community, your region, or the MSA, you can do that. And this will run you through these different reports. The one I want to focus on, at least initially, is the one where we're going to go under Find Properties. And I'm going to go back to the main page here. And I'm just going to click on Find Properties. This is going to have it be a wide open search here. And this is going to take us to our Zoom Prospector Enterprise software here. Now, when this loads up, what you'll see here on the map, these bubbles and these circles represent the number of properties that are being displayed, and they're clustered in there. So what that number really represents is a cluster of listings. So if I were to click on that, it's going to further break those out and refine our results here. Then what we see over here on the left are our different property results. And these results and the property data, I should say, is coming from a number of different sources here. We do have other clients in Arizona, and all their properties are being shared into this. One of the primary data sources for the application is through a company called Catalyst. You can see that down here. They run association data, and they also do research of properties. And so they're collecting that information and making it available. And so when I say collecting the information, we're talking about the property data. Now, if I go back to the top of my results here, you can see once we're, looking at our results, we have 9,107 total properties in the Arizona Prospector site. And if I wanted to refine that by location, I can definitely do that. We can search by county, city, metro, state, all those different things, as well as regions that are defined by APS. We can also search by buildings or sites. We can search by size. We can search by all these different property types. And then to really get into the nitty gritty here, we have all filters where you can search by ceiling height, sale price, keywords, really anything that you could think of in here, you could be searching by. Now, if I want to go in and just find data for a specific area, there's a lot of different things you can do. I could zoom in here and I could click redo search on map, or I can come over here and I can just search by community. So we're just going to come in here. We're going to type in maybe Scottsdale, bring up our results here. And that'll show us that we have 910 results, and we're looking at 1 through 30 per page. But again, the map is always showing us the complete number of listings here. And then we can see all our results. Now I'm going to just go ahead and click into one of these. We'll click View Details. This is going to take us into the property report. Now, if the client did have more photos, this would allow us to click in here and view within a slideshow. This is the primary and only image currently for this property. If there were documents assigned to that property, you would see an option here to look at those documents. And then down below, we can see all the data and the property information that's been entered for that listing. And one of the things we do is we have what we call an economic development contact, and that's something managed on the APS end. So one of the things you'll notice here is we have multiple contacts. So we have the broker contact here, but then we have the city of Scottsdale contact, and then we have the state's ED contact here. So again, that's just layered into that, and that's just depending on where that property is located. Now, with whatever we're doing in here, all these reports that we're seeing across the top, which I'm going to cover here in a second, it's important to note that you can export this data, and more importantly, you can share this. So if you come in here, you're looking at something and you want to share what you've kind of brought up on the screen, use this share link. And the nice thing about that is it takes into account other things you're doing. So if I were to come in here and maybe turn on something like broadband coverage, if I were to share this, it's going to bring users back to this exact same view. So using the share link is important because it'll let them come in and see exactly what you want them to see. We do have a few other tools here. Virtual tour is just going to take us over into Google Earth. I'll let that load up here for a second. The map view is just going to take us off the view here with the aerial image. The 3D rotation is just going to take us into the tilt imagery. And then we have our street view. When we click on that, that's going to let us look at that location. And this is an interesting one. I'm wondering if it was going to do that. Google Street View does include Google Sphere photos. So because of where this property was placed, it grabbed the nearest photo, and the nearest photo happened to be one that was submitted here. So this is actually showing us into the building, and we can actually walk through the building. So don't think you'll always get that level of detail, but this is a unique property that we're looking at here. Now let's talk about the data and all the information that we provide. These reports across the top here are what we bring into Zoom Prospector. And I'll just talk briefly about each. Occupation data. So we have occupation data here, and we also have wage data here. Now the occupation data, and we're going to go back, always happens during a web demo here, but let's choose one other property that should have loaded up a property in here for us. Oh, it could be that we're just waiting. Let's go back here. And I'm going to just select another listing here. So we're going to go ahead and click on the occupation data. Hopefully it'll load up for us this time. Here we go. So we have two sources of wage data in here. The occupation data here comes from MZ. The strength of this data set is it's MZ, which is like the gold standard for this type of information, looking at compensation annually and hourly. And it's also available at the zip code level. So as we change our radius here on the report, or we do a drive time, that's going to be updated. Now, the one thing it doesn't do is it doesn't let us drill into these different occupations here. So management occupation is just going to be a summary of all that data here. Now, if I go ahead and click on wage data here, we'll see this is going to look at, hold on one second. Sorry, just turning off my contact information there. If we look at the wage information, this data is now being provided by Bureau of Labor Statistics. Still a really good source, but it's a little bit more delayed in reporting. It's about we update this once a year, and they tend to be about a year back from when they collect the data. It's also available at the MSA level, so it's a little bit more generalized. But the power of this report is we can then go into these different sections and look at these different categories of management occupations. Obviously, there's going to be a large range there. So just something to point out between those two. Now, The next three reports, demographics, labor force, and consumer spending, these all come from Applied Geographic Solutions, which is one of our premier data vendors that we partner with. And this data, just looking at it quickly, the demographic data is looking at things like age distribution, household income distribution, labor force status, ethnicity, so all that information in there. And this also includes a 5-year projection. There's a lot of different things you can do with this data. You can chart it if you'd rather look at it graphically. You can also do a heat map. So if I wanted to come in here and see where my higher income households are, I can turn on the heat map. So instead of looking at this aggregate value, I can see, where there might be a concentration. And right now we're looking at this at the zip code level, but if I zoom in a couple clicks, we'll now see this at the block group level. So we can see a specific concentration of where there might be, a higher income, for this report, a higher income being reported. And what we're looking at here are the block groups on the map. Now, important to also note with all these reports, we can alter them. So we're looking at a default of a 10-mile radius. Let's go ahead and turn off the heat map here. But we can change that to be anywhere from 1 to 100 miles, or we can do 1 minute drive to a 60-minute drive. So how does that look if I were to choose, drive time? It'll just plot that out. It's going to update the data and it's going to reflect what we're seeing here on the screen. We can even adjust the time of day of the week. We can also account for if it's trucking versus regular automobile traffic versus, walking. And again, with these reports, remember, anything you're looking at here. So if you build this and you see something very specific, use this share option. It'll bring them back to that. And you can also export the information here. The labor force data, this data is now looking at businesses and employees in a couple different ways. So we're looking at total establishments by size, by the number of employees. Then we're looking at the total businesses by type. So we can see, the different industries. And this is the more generalized Applied Geographic Solutions categories. If you're more familiar with NAICS codes, you can look at this by NAICS codes instead. And then if we scroll down, as I mentioned, we can see the number of employees in these different categories. Next report by Applied Geographic Solutions is the consumer spending. It's a great report. It shows where all the money is being spent by household as well as the aggregate amount here. And we can see it covers most areas of household spending here. So entertainment, education, food and beverage, gifts, and all that information. So those three, again, were from Applied Geographic Solutions. These are updated twice a year. We already talked about the wage information here. Now we have our business information. This is provided by Data Axle, which was formerly Info Group. We update this against their database and publish it weekly. So this is our most rapidly updated data set in here. And what we can see here are the different businesses. Now we do default to a 1 mile radius because the map starts to look a little busy, but we can definitely turn that up. We could even do it up to 60 miles if we wanted, but I'm just going to do 5 miles here because it's going to get pretty dense. And then we can filter by different options like number of employees, annual revenue, NAICS codes, or different clusters in here. And what's nice about this is I can drill down into these different categories. I can then select a specific category like full service restaurants, and then that will show me the actual businesses, their estimated sales, and their estimated number of employees. And we can see all these plotted on the map. We can select them here and hover, or we can even click on these on the map. It'll pull up that business for us as well. The talent data that we have in here comes from the National Centers of Education Statistics, and we're looking at the number of graduates by degrees, by school. So if we look in here, we can see, the top programs in the area are business management, health profession, education. And then we can scroll down here a little bit and we can look into these different categories. So if I was interested in maybe hiring, some business or management professionals that are coming out of school here, I could come in here, I can see, okay, there's, 1,498 accounting degrees coming out, which schools are those coming from? I can open that up, and this lets me know those actual universities. So if I did want to do some outreach and just see, maybe I want to be located where those individuals are coming out, or maybe that's where I want to go target for some, looking for some, new young employees for my business. Now, we also recently added trades in here, and these are these are kind of certified trades, and this is brought to you by the Employment and Training Administration. So it's not going to have every little school in there, but it's going to have those that they've certified in there. So now we can see, where people with actual skills coming in here, surgical, technology, truck, bus driver. So these are the different schools in those industries. And we can drill down into these as well and look at that. This data, again, is updated annually. It does have a little bit of a lag in it, in that the way that especially the degrees are reported, they collect it. It takes them about a year to get everything before they publish it. And then these final two reports here are based on where the location of that property is, and that's the city profile and the county profile. And this is now looking at summarizing a lot of the data in here, showing us those top points. And it also has some unique attributes that we brought into it. So we can see the number of people. With this report, we can scroll historically through the data. We can see population growth over time, education attainment, as well as the number of colleges and universities in and around the community, our labor force, our business and jobs. So what are the top ones? Income and spending, household, transportation. So if you're a community and you're on this call, this is a report that you could really link out to and share. And I'll show you how you can also do that from the microsite. And again, I won't come over here. This is just going to show it over here for the county as well. Now, there's one other way that you can look at all the data that we're providing in here, or actually a couple other ways. So right now we were looking around a property, but now if I go in here and I click on Explore Communities, I can now look at the data by actual community. So I could look at it by city, by county, by metro, or even the regions that we've defined in here. And we can see all those different reports tallying that data up. So let's just choose a county here. We'll choose Apache County. This would be kind of your unique URL within Zoom Prospector to pull up all these different reports. So we can see the same infographic here. We can pull in the occupation data. We can look at the number of businesses. So this is a great way to get a snapshot of each of the communities throughout the state. One other thing you can do when you're under Explore Community is you can drop a pinpoint. You can type in an address and it'll drop a point. You can do the same radius report. But the one I like is the area analysis. So I can drill into an area like Flagstaff here. I can click on my area analysis tool. And I might want to just show specific businesses along Interstate 40. I can click apply, and I shouldn't just say businesses, but I can look at the data here. So we have our occupation data, labor force. Now this is all going to be based on the area that I've defined. I did mention businesses. So if I wanted to see the businesses that are just along there, I can do that. So really, as far as data, you can really interrogate and pull that data however you need it out of the system here. Couple other things to be aware of with the tool. There's a number of different data layers that we have in here. I mentioned one at the very beginning, but we have all the broadband coverage. We have different things like energy. Maybe you want to see where, non-renewable versus renewable energy is. We can turn those layers on and see those. We can also look at things like incentives, opportunity zones, new market tax credit, points of interest, education, and transportation. So a lot of different information in there. We manage and maintain those, and most of those data sets are coming from federally based sources, and then we update them as needed. We have one other way to kind of look at the data here, and that's under our Compare Communities. So if I click on Compare Community, we do have to pick at least an originating community that is in Arizona. So I could come in here and I can select either a city or a county or one of our regions. So let's just do Scottsdale here. And then maybe I want to see how that stacks up maybe against Flagstaff. So we can put Flagstaff in. Oops, there we go. And then finally, maybe I want to add Tucson. So we'll put all those in and we'll click compare. And that's going to drill us into this primarily focuses on that AGS data, applied geographic solutions, but we'll have our demographics, labor force, and consumer spending. So we can see how these all stack up here. So if I wanted to see, median household income, how do those compare? And you can have even more communities. And again, this is something that you can share. So if you pull this report together and you want to share it, you can do that. We do have one other report here, and this one's coming from the American Community Survey, and we label it as census, but it has also some other unique information like commuting to work, school enrollment, all this information. Again, you can compare between those different communities. Now, at this point, I don't know if it's a good point to introduce you to Elisa Sklar, who's also on the call now.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Jeff, and thanks for doing the overview. Apologize for coming in a few minutes late from another meeting.
No problem at all.
Jeff, you did a phenomenal job. I see some questions about sharing to social media and those kinds of things. And I know that Jeff showed you the share button, and he showed you the power of that share button. If you're looking at any of the reports within properties, or the reports just for your town or your region. The idea behind the way we design Zoom Prospector is to make it as nimble and flexible as possible for your place marketing. So that share button is your superpower. You see where Jeff is showing you, you can either highlight the link, you could go direct to social media if you want, you can share it in an email, you can download it in different formats depending on the report itself. And the idea with the link especially is that, let's say on your website, you can say, let's say you're the city of Flagstaff, you could have a link on City of Flagstaff economic development, search for properties in the city of Flagstaff, for example, and use the link. You go into the property search, as Jeff is showing you right here. And right now, when we choose Flagstaff, that is going to be an always updated list of the properties in Flagstaff or whatever town or county you're in. So that link doesn't need to be updated all the time. It will always give you the most up-to-date inventory. So the idea is everyone within the APS service territory can be helping to drive as much traffic to this really powerful tool, but you can use it to drive traffic to a filtered result for your town or county or region. So if you're the city of Flagstaff, that way, by following that link, people can see the properties in your town or region. Similarly, if you use the Explore Communities tab at the top, and you just want to show community data, I know this is something that Jeff showed you as well, you could pick wherever your county, your city, your region is, and that way you can have a link on your website also, explore all the data for the city of Flagstaff. This is an open access data platform that APS is providing to everyone within the service territory. And it's so powerful. And the nice thing about all of you from the different regions or cities or counties is that you can use that share link to grab the link as it pertains to your location. So I'll just give you one other example here, just because it gets so nuanced. Let's say you're the city of Flagstaff and you open map layers. Jeff is being really patient here, following my suggestions. If you wanted to pick, let's pick something, okay, broadband would be an example. I know in a lot of rural areas, broadband is important. So you could highlight, let's say, fiber. Amazing. Jeff and I are totally connected here. Now, let's say you have a page on your website or a newsletter piece in your next email newsletter or a blog post, or maybe you're putting something in a proposal document. Now, if you click on the share link, you are going to bring people back to report about broadband access in your town. In this case, it's Flagstaff. So that's how creative you can actually get from a place marketing perspective on social or any of those other places by taking full advantage of the powerful tool that APS is providing to all of you to really provide this very granular, flexible content as it pertains to your region. And the nice thing about this, of course, is everybody wins, because when you are doing, driving this traffic to the tool and making sure that everyone knows about it, you help ensure that more eyes see it and more investors then are aware of all of the things that you can offer to them. Let me just take a look at questions. Okay, someone talked about local GIS layers, Jeff. I don't know if you.
APS does have the ability to include additional layers. Obviously, at the state level, it's a little harder. You would have to coordinate with them if you had a layer that you felt you would like in there or that would be useful. You could reach out to McKinsey, is who I would reach out to over at APS. Usually it's a little harder when it's a statewide one, but what we've done in the past is, let's say you're a county, we could add a section for zoning. And then what we would do is, for those that want to provide that data, we would add them in. So it's kind of equal opportunity. So there could be zoning for this county and zoning for that county. So there is the option to add to the layers that we provide. It just needs to be okayed by APS and then provided to us. And there's a number of different ways that we can connect to that data and it can be placed in there.
That sounds great. There's also a question about drawing the line around where you showed drawing the line around the freeway in Flagstaff, and you get to see a list of the type of industries. Can you drill down further to get a list of specific businesses and names and or addresses?
Yeah, let me show that again. So I'll make it a little more unique here. So we're going to come in here and we'll go along just this portion of freeway. Hopefully I didn't make it a random area, but then we'll click businesses. That's going to plot the businesses here. We can see they're concentrated up here. And then just like we were doing in the other business report, we can drill down and we can see those individual businesses here. So you would have all that information here.
Awesome.
You can now, the business report is the most restrictive is in terms of exporting. It will let you export the smaller subset, but if you go back to this previous level, it's not going to, whoops, we didn't see that. It's not going to let you export the entire data. You will have to go down to a specific section to get that, to see that information. My little location, Flagstaff here. I think that answers your question there. There it is, sorry.
Excellent.
Yep. Ignore.
I see Carrie's put in Mackenzie's contact information in the webinar chat. So if you want to take a look at that, that's in there. Jeff, is there anything else related that I think I should show that you didn't already cover?
Well, the other thing is, and I don't know if, as I mentioned on the property data, a majority of it's coming through Catalyst, which is aggregating this data. If there are listings that you feel need to be added, if you don't already have an account, you can request one. You would just come in over here. You would click in sign in, add properties, and it's going to give you the option to fill out this access request form, and that gets sent over to Mackenzie, and then she can approve it. And then you actually can go in, and if for some reason you're not seeing properties in your community that you feel you should have, that is another option if we're not able to capture them in other ways. So, if that's something of interest, just fill that out. You could go in there. I would say it's intuitive to most that if once you get that account and you log in, you would simply click add property, fill out the information, and you submit it.
Sounds good. If there were no other questions, Carrie or Mackenzie, was there anything else that you wanted us to cover that we have not yet?
Yeah, no, if you have any additional questions, like feel free to put them in the chat, or we're always available as well to share information and ask questions. I think probably one of the most powerful things about this is what you talked about with the social media sharing and the ways in which you can embed things into your websites, so you don't have to be constantly updating, especially for some of our more rural communities where you only have your it. For economic development, that is an easy way to get the information out there without having to continuously update your website. So I appreciate that, your overview on that especially. If there were no other questions, our panelists, Jeff and Alyssa, can put your information in the chat, or we can send it out after this as well. If you have any additional questions or follow up, they're great to work with, and then always there to answer any questions that you might have. Was there anything else from you guys that you wanted to touch on?
Not for me. I put contact information for me and for Jeff and the support team at support@gisplanning.com, and Jeff is in there as well. We're here to help you be as successful as possible with these tools. So please feel free to reach out, and we're always happy to work with you. If anyone wants to know more, let us know.
One final piece I forgot to mention is we do have a pretty, it might be hidden here a little bit where it says help, but it's a pretty robust knowledge base. So this is a great place to come in, search for any questions you might have, data sources, how often things are updated, how to do certain things. So good resource here too. Sorry, I forgot to mention it.
Awesome. So yeah, we really appreciate the partnership with APS and helping around the state to do economic development. Again, this is a free resource, so please utilize it. And all the data that is on there is really important as we move sort of Arizona forward over the next few years. So I appreciate you guys coming and giving this overview. We're recording this session and we'll have it on our website as well. So if there's any other follow-up or you need to view it again, it'll be on our website and on YouTube channel as well. So thank you everybody for attending, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks, Carrie.
Panelists.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Carrie. Bye, everyone.